Keir Starmer's somewhat tepid attempt to reset relations with the European Union, this diplomatic pantomime that promises much, concedes more, delivers, well, it delivers little more than ambiguity, and perhaps this ambivalence is not a glitch in Labour's matrix. Perhaps it is the feature, the culmination of a party whose European record, to be perfectly frank, from Wilson, that's not me, to Starmer, is less pro-Europe and more Brexit before Brexit was even fashionable. If you examine 7 red flags that suggest that Labour has been Britain's original Brexit party in 1972, when Edward Heath took Britain into the European community, 69 Labour MPs voted against the European Communities Act, more than from the Conservative benches. This was not about sovereignty, it was about suspicion of markets, of capitalism, of Brussels technocrats in pinstripes. And then in 75, the first referendum, that was Labour's idea. It was Harold Wilson who called the first referendum on Europe, not out of constitutional duty, but out of political expediency to paper over Labour's deep Euroscepticism. And that referendum split the party down the middle, not unlike the Conservative split in the 1990s. In 1983, Labour invented hard Brexit in the infamous longest suicide note in history. Labour's 1983 manifesto pledged immediate withdrawal from the EEC. This was before Nigel Farage had even appeared on the political scene. He was still in school. Michael Foot's Labour did not just flirt with Brexit, it tried to define Brexit before Brexit was even a concept. In 1997, Blair's government spent the better part of 2 parliaments ducking the euro question. Gordon Brown, with his infamous 5 tests, effectively killed the project. The irony, the euro may be imperfect, but by remaining outside, the UK helped fragment the single market and lost its voice in shaping fiscal integration. And that was part of, that was effectively the decision by Gordon Brown not to be part of the grand euro fiscal integration project. In 2015, under Ed Miliband, Labour supported a referendum on EU membership, and in doing so they effectively voted to throw out the 1975 result. 27 million votes and 40 years of settled consensus. The party didn't just reopen Pandora's box, it shook it. And Article 50 in 2017, the doomsday trigger, despite the Yellowhammer warnings about medicine shortages, food inflation, friction at borders, Labour MPs, whipped by Starmer himself, voted to trigger Article 50. In other words, let's jump off this cliff together, we'll build the parachute on the way down. So now here we are, in 2025, with Starmer's government insisting that Brexit is done, the reset is less a re-engagement with Europe than a technocratic tinkering with Europe by people who say, well, we voted to remain. He offers a veterinary deal if they give us fish. He flirts with dynamic alignment, but fears mentioning the ECJ. He wants youth mobility without free movement. All of this while dodging the issue of a customs union like it's a tax bill. Now, the so-called reset, would help touring artists, something which is very necessary. Brussels offers to help our roadies and our flautists. In return, we must let in some French 19-year-olds with Erasmus grants. Not a bad trade, but one that Starmer's delayed over because of tabloid fears. Starmer is a fool if he's going to be dictated to by the Daily Mail and the Mirror and the Express. The EU asks for 7 years of access to UK waters. Starmer offers 4. He doesn't dare explain why agri-food trade hinges on mackerel diplomacy. And the proposed limits about youth mobility are too low for Brussels, while British ministers fear tabloid shrieks of free movement. Point 2. The EU students are being charged foreign rates in universities. Brussels wants parity, but the Treasury sees a £1 billion black hole, and so we circle and circle. You don't fill up that black hole by pushing the clients to other places, because in the end our universities will collapse. Our universities are not the way to plug the black hole. The way to plug the black hole is to get Britain working, and that means to have more people in here who are paying taxes. Starmer refuses to name the regulatory alignment, but it is happening. Quiet, dynamic, creeping alignment, like an ex that you thought you'd moved on from, but whose Spotify playlists still influence your mood, and whose clothes are still in your bottom drawer. Why is this? Why is this cautious progress? This Labour fears its own shadow, and the shadow is the shadow of its past, not the worry about the tabloids. The shadow of Labour and the problems with Labour with Brexit are its long history of anti-Europeanism. The party has never really been European. It's suspicious of what Europe represents: neoliberalism, deregulated markets, corporate courts. And Starmer knows his voters hate Brexit, but he also knows they hate the Tories more. And he calculates not unreasonably that he can do nothing, that he can say nothing, concede nothing, and still win. But governing a country is not just about getting through the next election. Governing a country is doing the best for Britain. And the best for Britain is to realign with Europe and to ensure that we are trading better, that we are encouraging more people to pay taxes, to support our growing pensioner base, that we are equipping Britain for the future, rather than delaying and waiting until the next election when the blame can be passed on to somebody else. That I'm afraid, was Rishi Sunak's approach, and Rishi Sunak was wrong. Rishi had enormous potential and squandered it all because he kowtowed to twits like Priti Patel and Suella Braverman. Meanwhile, EU leaders grow exasperated. The asks are all British, one diplomat sighed, but the offers are not. And so, we're led not by a visionary pro-European, but by a constitutional solicitor and with the political instincts of a probate lawyer. Brexit is not over. It festers. It stifles trade. It divides allies. It undermines growth. And Starmer's reset is not a cure. It's a placebo. We need somebody who has the vision to take Britain forward, not to put it in an eternal parking slot and to watch the meter. Labour have inherited the Brexit mess. Yes, a mess created by Boris and Theresa May, and actually by Cameron's failure to stick with the job. But they've helped to build the scaffolding. And now, having discovered that the sovereignty doesn't pay the bills, and that the sovereignty that we inherited from Brexit, it doesn't pay the bills, and that fish don't vote, the Prime Minister is left holding a dossier entitled Reset, containing mostly blank pages and contradictory footnotes. Labour, in case we forget, invented the idea of leaving Europe. So perhaps it's fitting that they now struggle to find the courage or the conviction to repair the damage that they conspired to create in the first place.